are there any members of the public here who are interested in doing public comments?
To go about operations like this, and the final operation could take place within days, subject.
Is that Bob?
Channel for the busiest point, which you can see here.
Nope. Okay, well, why don't we just...
Can everybody mute themselves, please?
No,
I can't hear.
I can't hear him.
You can't hear me?
Yes. Well, there was a bunch of background noise.
Oh, that was just the YouTube going on.
Oh,
Okay, Peter, do you want to start the meeting, and maybe we'll just do another request when the public comments comes around?
Well, let's start the meeting. The municipality has suggested a way to finance this.
Oh, we're going to start with approving the agenda and then an adoption of the minutes, and then we'll do another ask for the public comments.
Mm-hmm. Well, are we going to adopt the minutes of February 22nd, 2021? I don't have those minutes. I suppose Jerry has.
Can we do this with only two of us here?
I don't know.
Yeah, we've got, there are 3 on the committee, which is legislatively acceptable, and 2 of you make quorum.
Okay,
So the minutes are included in the agenda package as...
I move.
Well,
I'll have to second.
and I will, obviously. I'm sorry, I spoke to Jerry Sears not more than 10 minutes ago, and he was, he had it all planned, I suppose. I don't know what's happened. But as far as I'm concerned, yes, let's adopt the meetings and continue.
Okay.
Okay, so anybody, what about approval of the agenda? Is there anything else anybody wants to add to the agenda? No. So
I have no lead items.
we could take it by consensus then, Steph, that the agenda is approved?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now you can turn the meeting over to Patrick.
Do I want to do a proper introduction to our new CFO?
Yeah.
Counselor, would you like to introduce our new CFO?
Recording in progress.
What's going on?
Something went weird.
Something went weird. Okay, so just so everybody knows, I'm Councillor Morse, and I'm the liaison to the committee from council, and Steph Short, you've all met before, as the recording keeps us all on track. And our new CFO, Chief Financial Officer, is Sheila McCutcheon. And everybody knows Annette, our utilities coordinator. Place wouldn't run without her. And Gail has just disappeared, a Tunstall Bay committee member. And what happened to Peter?
I'm here.
Oh, you're here, but we've lost Peter Rankin.
He's coming back in.
Okay, and Patrick Graham is our Director of Engineering. And not a doe like a deer, but the Director of Engineering. And we've got, here comes Peter back, who is a member of the committee, and we're missing Jerry Sear, unfortunately. Hopefully he'll join us shortly. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, we've lost him again. Oh, there he is. Okay, Peter, we just did introductions. So this is Peter Rankin, the other member of the Tunstall Bay Committee. And so the next item is, did we have any public comments, Steph?
I had Andrea Clan wanted to speak, but I don't see her here. Andrea Clan, no.
Okay.
And nobody here. Anybody else here would like to speak today? Okay, Patrick.
You're muted.
You're on mute.
This is the next step in the process of installing a new treated water reservoir for the Tunstall Bay water system. This was budgeted for in the 2021 budget process last fall. 760,000 was budgeted for this project. We completed the preliminary design looking at options, which included a review of whether it made any sense to combine with other water systems. Concluded that it made more sense as a standalone system. Recommended an approach and type of tank to proceed with design for. That was back in February. That was the last meeting we had. So from there, we proceeded with the detailed design, tender documents, posting a tender. We have a pre-construction cost estimate from the design consultants. That's where the 620,000 comes from. What we proposed in terms of financing the cost of construction was to essentially pay for the non-construction costs from the Tunstall Bay reserves. There's about 270,000 in reserves, and the total design and consultant costs during construction would be just under 80,000, and that we finance the construction costs itself, which we're estimating 620,000. It could be different than that, depending on the tender results, which we'll know next week. We're proposing an equipment financing loan be taken out by the Tunstall Bay local service area to fund that. And we sent out some estimates of what that would mean in terms of costs per household over the next 5 years. Sheila had looked into some alternative financing approaches, which would where we could use some of the reserves, or we could secure a longer term loan that would require a referendum process or some alternative approval process, whereas the equipment financing, the 5-year loan, we can essentially agree to that and proceed right away. That would be the advantage. So that's really why we're here, to provide an update on the process. We're essentially ready to close the tender next week. Depending on the results, we should probably agree on a threshold that would result in coming back to consult with the Tunstall Bay LAC. I would suggest that it would make sense to, if we've got tender results that are within budget, that we would proceed, and if it's over budget, that we would need to have some further discussion. So we're proposing that we're proposing this financing approach, and before awarding any tenders or getting council direction to award tenders, we want your agreement.
Thank you, Patrick. It looks like we have a question in the chat box.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it? A question regarding the $760,000 that was included in the 2021 Tunstall Bay water system budget. Is this part of the 2021 BIM budget? If this amount has been budgeted, why do we need to get financing?
The project is budgeted. Also in the budget was an assumption that we would secure short-term financing through the Municipal Finance Authority. Grant program, we're always looking for grant opportunities. There was a question about grants. Did we consider grant programs? We're always looking for grant funding. we unfortunately don't have a grant to finance this project.
Patrick, Doug Ham submitted a document, and I submitted it to Steph, that outlines money that was set aside before the Muni took over the tanks. And I forget the exact amount, but it was, 200,000 plus. And my understanding that went into general revenue and disappeared. I still don't understand why that money is not being allocated back to us.
I have no idea what that is.
But I'm just putting it out there so everybody hears it.
Yeah.
There is a documented proof that was done.
I'm not sure what we're able to do with that.
Yeah, it's just a shame. Because as you know, we've gone through a lot of changes of personnel and blah, blah, blah. And it just seems things get lost and confused.
This is Sheila. I did see the
Hi,
doc.
Jim.
Hi. And we are audited. Our financial statements are audited every year. Have been since incorporation of the municipality. And so that would be something that at the time, those funds would have been placed in the correct, I would believe have been accounted for correctly. Because especially as it was a sizable amount, and we are audited.
You are looking into it.
And because we are audited, we would have had an audited financial statements, and I believe those funds would have been accounted for correctly. It is something I would have to look into. I'm not too sure how far back our maize accounting system goes, but I could have a general look for it.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
I can do that.
There was another comment here, just asking that, yes, so confirm we don't have an ICIP grant application for this project.
Is that Jerry?
Just to follow up on that, the ICIP program that we applied for last fall we applied for a project to connect the Eagle Cliff water system to Cope Bay water system. We went through a process of looking at the grant criteria and which projects we felt had the best chance of success. And we actually followed up with the provincial administrators of that program to confirm our assumptions, which is why we submitted that project. We weren't successful in that either. It was massively oversubscribed, and we weren't successful in that grant. Generally, equipment replacement or building a new reservoir tanks, they don't tend to score very highly in these grant programs. That the administrators of the grant program would tend to look at that and say, well, you should really be dealing with that through your own municipal asset management program. That's the advice we got.
I think I see Jerry.
Yeah.
He's been here for a while.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Hi, Jerry.
Okay. Any other questions or?
I'm saying that the present tank's adequate for daily use of the 135 Tunstall residents. The extra tank is for fire security And in the case of a wildfire, water in this tank would also be used to fight a fire on Roger Curtis property. So it would be logical to ask them.
That's a lot to type out just for a question.
There's a question in the chat about the water tank. Was somebody else
Yeah.
giving a verbal question?
Do you want to address the question about the tank in the chat? The existing tank is 227 cubic meters. The fire flow, the tank volume needed for fire flows is, and to provide some buffering on peak days, is about 500, I think 525 cubic meters. And there was a, the recommendation is typically to add a 25% buffer for emergency storage, which is where the 595 came from. The difference between the cost of a 595 and a 450 cubic meter tank is not that large. Like the amount of you pay for extra storage is fairly small. And in terms of keeping the existing tank, we did look at the option, and that's in the report from February, the Urban Systems report, where they looked at the options of, well, we could keep the existing tank and just provide the marginal storage that we need. And that's essentially the reason this was proposed, is that it's not as good value. You get a lot more bang for your buck to provide a bigger tank. Keeping the existing tank also allows it to remain in service while construction is happening, and some added redundancy in the system. So we could reduce the amount of storage that we're providing and still achieve fire flows. That would reduce the cost somewhat, but it would be a lesser value project. You get less bang for your buck on the reservoir storage.
What do you type in that question?
You can ask the question verbally. Just Aaron Hannon, our fire chief, has arrived. Thank you, Aaron. I think Judy Eden, you had a question about fire?
No.
No? Okay.
Somebody's having a question. We can hear it being asked, but we don't know who it is.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Jerry. He was asking about fire protection and using this for Roger Curtis fire protection. So, my understanding, and, Aaron can confirm or revise this, but really the response to an unprotected area like Roger Curtis, where there aren't hydrants, is more limited by the ability to truck water over there as opposed to the size of the tank. So having a bigger tank doesn't really provide much benefit in terms of protection for Roger Curtis. It provides the benefit to the Tunstall Bay water system, where there are hydrants that can draw water from that reservoir.
But they still use it.
They have their own wells.
Yeah, no, but just
Yeah,
quickly.
They have their own wells, but the fact of the matter, if there was a fire, the wells would be pretty well useless. You need the tanker trucks to fight the fire, as has happened twice now, and rightly so. The fire department has to get their water as quickly as possible, and that is where the Tunstall Bay water was used. And I would agree it should be used to fight any fire on this island.
And often water from Grafton Lake would be used for that purpose as well. I mean, there's in emergency situations, you may have water coming from.
So the one guy is saying.
Well, the fires that were about 3 or 4 years ago, and there were 2 of them. Both times, it drew down the tank to the point 3 years ago there was very little water left for Tunstall Bay. Plus the fact that if you go back to 2006, there is a comment about the amount of water that is needed for Tunstall Bay, and I am reading something that says it was approximately needed about 135,000 gallons for insurance purposes, which of course we have not had for since 2005. Aaron, you may be able to comment on that.
Guide me.
No, I mean, what I can say is that the fire department will take water from the nearest water source available. So if we are fighting a fire in Roger Curtis, then we would more than likely take it from a hydrant in Tunstall Bay. If that wasn't feasible, we would go to the next nearest water source. We can also take water from the ocean as well.
If you were fighting a fire on Adams Road, you'd take it from a Tunstall Bay hydrant too, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's the other road.
And I've the houses out at Cape Roger Curtis, I believe, all have sprinkler systems.
That's correct. Yes, all houses being built in that subdivision are required to have residential fire sprinklers.
Can you type in that? All right. So it would be fair.
I keep hearing someone, but I don't know what they're saying.
Whoever's trying to type a question in the chat, why don't you just voice the question out loud so we can all hear it?
We're not doing that, so just wait.
In chat.
See that?
Oh, Judy, we can hear Michael in the background.
Oh.
That's what I'm hearing.
It sounds like Michael.
It is Michael.
Okay, he's got a question.
So
Okay.
if this tank is for Tunstall benefit, but it's also for benefit of Roger Curtis and Adams Road properties. So it would be fair to ask them to help pay an equal per property share of the construction costs.
No, it's not, because with the current situation, there's a water tank there that they can fill from. Having a larger water tank doesn't really increase the rate that trucks can be filled and driven over to a fire in Roger Curtis or in Adams Road. So this is improving fire protection for Tunstall Bay. It's not improving fire protection for areas outside the Tunstall Bay water system. If somebody was joining the Tunstall Bay water system in the future, they would be paying a share of this tank as well as the other infrastructure in the system when they join the system as a contribution to expand the service area.
So Patrick, a while ago, it was discussed when Raj was with us that only those lots that had buildings on them were going to be contributing to this fund. And myself and Doug Ham, who was on the committee at that time, voiced concern that it should be spread out over all 135 lots. It just because those lots are now being developed. So it should
actually 144 lots, Gay.
Oh, it's 144. Oh, my mother lied. So it is 144 because at one time there was only, I think, like 120 lots that had structures on them.
Yeah, that's
129 now that have houses on them that are connected, and there are 15 unconnected.
Okay, but all the lots have connections to the water supply. That was included in on the development of the subdivision, I guess you could call it. So why aren't those lots that aren't containing structures? Yeah, they should be paying as well, because when they sell,
Yeah, they
And-
will be. We are proposing that all.
You
there
are,
would be a-
okay.
Would be a parcel tax on all the lots, all
Every lot.
144 lots.
Yeah, the
Thank you.
report is updated in the package to include the number of connected and unconnected lots. So the
Okay.
original numbers were on the basis of just connected. The revised 800 and something numbers on the basis of connected and unconnected.
Okay,
So I
I
think
didn't
that's
do
a
that.
144 denominator for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is the TBCA clubhouse included in on that?
Yes, they're one of the lots.
Okay,
Yeah, we haven't treated it as differently than a residential lot.
Okay. good. So,
And-
because it was a pool, that's a lot of water.
Well, they get charged for water use, right? Sheila, and
Right.
I'm also understanding, if correctly, from the memo that you did, which was in the late items agenda, that you're recommending, and as we talked about, it be a parcel tax. So
That's
that
correct.
means every parcel pays the same. And if
Yes.
you happen to defer your property taxes, then that parcel tax can be is part of the property taxes that are deferred.
Yes, that's correct, Allison. It's a per unit parcel tax.
So the annual debt payments or borrowing payments would be divided by the number of connected and unconnected properties and charged as a parcel tax on your tax bill. And if there's more properties, if a big property subdivides, then that 144 number might become 145 or 146, so the number goes down.
Okay, thank you. Okay, trying to see.
Would you, this is Sheila, would you like me to go over with the financing options, just for some clarification?
Absolutely.
Do you want to share your screen, Sheila?
Okay, sorry, I don't have it up. Do you mind bringing it up, Steph,
No, I can do it. Yeah.
from the agenda? Thank you. So just while we're waiting there, so just some details in relationship to the financing options. So the short-term financing would be with MFA. All the options would be with the Municipal Finance Authority, and they offer two forms of financing. One is a term financing, and we would be utilizing the equipment financing. So that's at a fixed monthly payment schedule. And the current interest rate is 0.94%. So we can't get any other interest rate than that anywhere else. And with the great thing about the equipment financing is that there's no referendum or alternative approval process required. Now, a referendum can cost the village, I mean the municipality, an estimated $12,000 to $15,000. So there's a consideration right there in making your decision. And also referendum can take 2 to 3 months to have to, go through that process. So just something else to keep in mind. With the long-term financing, we have to go to long-term financing if it's over 5 years. That's a requirement with the Municipal Finance Authority and the legislation. And so a 10-year rate is 1.95%. And if the lending terms exceed that 10 years, then there's a reset on that interest. So there's a risk factor there in relationship to what the interest would be in that 11th year. It could be higher, it could be lower. So principal repayments with long-term financing occur annually. And however, you do receive an actuarial adjustment, which you can see on the Excel spreadsheet. And like I said before, the long-term financing does require that referendum. The cost we've determined to be about $12,000 to $15,000. And so it's a longer process. So just in relationship to the reserves, the Municipal Tunstall Bay Reserve If we did use $100,000, that's an option that we reduce that 620,000 to 520,000 for financing. So we reduce $500,000 and use $100,000 of the current reserves. We would be drawing down the Tunstall Bay reserves to $170,000 in 2021. However, you know, I would maybe caution that because, you know, asset management planning, $170,000 doesn't go very far in the future, and it's hard to regain those reserves again once they're approved and utilized for current infrastructure. So it's only the water system users have a benefit in the short term. However, at some point, you know, the future with that future funding gap, it would be required to be funded in the future. So if you don't mind, Steph, moving on to the Excel spreadsheet. So basically 620,000 of short-term financing, of the equipment financing, results in total financing costs of about 635,000. And dividing that with using the 144 benefiting users, the cost per year for 5 years is $882, or in terms of month to month, it would be a $73 monthly cost for 5 years for those users. So that's having an equipment financing loan at $660,000. So if we did use $100,000 of reserves and reduce that debt to $520,000, there's actually really only a reduction of maybe $150 per year per each of the benefiting users. So, it's not a big difference if we fund that total amount for $620,000 versus the $520,000. So probably would recommend, financing the entire amount and preserving your reserves for any other future infrastructure. If we went over, I did the financing option for long-term financing, let's say for 10 years, it does financing cost is $620,000. However, again, we have to consider the fact that we would have to go to a referendum or an alternative approval process. And that does reduce your cost per user down to $431. And that would be a cost per year for 10 years. And then it would reduce to a monthly cost of $36. So the Excel spreadsheet, provides your options there. And yeah. Are there any questions?
Is there any way this could be done monthly rather than one lump sum with your taxes? Because people are looking at this one lump sum, and this is the one comment I've heard from people, especially those on fixed incomes and that. It's horrendous to look at that big jump.
Well, with any taxes, you can make monthly payments.
Okay.
You can provide post-dated checks, or just with your online banking, have a reoccurring month to month. So it could be paid. There's flexibility in how that amount is paid throughout the year.
Right. Good. Because I'm looking at this and you're saying that for between $12,000 and $15,000 to run a referendum to get a financing over 10 years, if I'm interpreting this correctly, people will save a lot of money over a 10-year period, correct? Their monthly, it'll end up being the same, but it's not as big a hit once a year, is what I'm saying.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. Good. I'm not a math whiz, but
Sheila,
you'll end up, because of the higher interest rate and the cost of the referendum, of paying back more, correct? In total?
Yeah, it will be, let me just do the math here. Just give me
Yeah.
a second here. Just gonna-
Maybe I'll just take a quick chance to review what else is in the revised agenda for people. So we have the original report that Patrick provided, and then we have a letter and spreadsheet of financing options provided by Sheila, our new CFO. There's the RFP that was tendered, which closes on the 14th. Is it, Patrick?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I also included recommendations from council on March 22nd and recommendations from the Tunstall Bay local advisory committee, just to show the process that's taken place, where the advisory committee recommended to council that the additional tank be installed, and council has directed staff to proceed with that. And finally, a summary of the questions that were submitted from the public via email. I put those together, and those are in your package as well.
Steph, so basically, if we had to pay for a referendum, say we're saying it's $12,000, it actually works out equally. We're only within a few dollars difference as far as the total payout. One would be payout over 5 years, the other over 10 years, and it's pretty much the same cost in the end.
Sheila, maybe you could explain just to folks why the total financing cost shown for the longer term options is lower when the interest rate is higher.
Because there's this actuarial adjustment. So there's interest earned on your principal payments. So there's it's a whole different financing scheme or structure.
Okay.
It's a bond issue. So you pay the same amount of interest every year, and you make a payment on the principal. And for those of us that remember the term sinking fund, and that goes away and gets put into another account and earns income, and that offsets some of the costs at the end when you have to make the final payment.
So basically, it's the same total amount spread over a longer period of time as well.
Correct.
Exactly. Just provides that, takes that little bit of financial pressure off every year.
No, I understand what you're saying now. Okay. I'm just thinking of the lay person who is going to look at that and go, okay, so if I spread it out over more years, the possibility is I'm probably not going to be in my house for more than 5 years. Do I want to pass this cost on to the next person? You know.
So in the on page 1 of my report, under long-term financing, it actually describes that actuarial adjustment there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Should I share the recommendation? Peter?
A few other things on the agenda yet.
I think those are all provided for supporting information for
Okay.
Patrick's presentation.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
So now my voice is being heard. So it appears that the 5-year option is the sensible way to go. If we pay it monthly or if we pay it yearly, that can be arranged, I suppose. What is the next step? Do we approve it and go ahead? Or do we wait another year or 2 years? As far as I am concerned, we should go ahead immediately.
I'm agreed.
Okay. We can wordsmith or tweak this if you'd like, or Peter, do you want to read it?
I guess this is what you'd like me to read. I must admit, I am new to Zoom, so I am completely confused.
You're doing a great job.
No, I'm not. But say, Libby, whereas on February 22nd, 2021, the Tunstall Water System Local Advisory Committee recommend the new 595 cubic meter glass fused bolted steel tank reserve be installed as laid out in the February 12th, 2021 Urban Systems Report. Getting back to that, I believe that is approximately 100,000 gallons, which I would rather use that number. Whereas on March the 22nd of 2021, Council directed staff to proceed with a detailed design of a new reservoir. Therefore, be it resolved that the Tunstall Bay Water System Local Advisory Committee recommend the Council direct staff to apply this municipal finance authority for BC for an equipment and financing loan to fund the construction of a new reservoir tank for the Tunstall Bay water system to be repaid over a 5-year term by both connected and unconnected property owners in Tunstall Bay.
Okay.
Do you want to add a reference to parcel tax in there?
As that to me is up to the municipality to decide, as it always is, what they would the way we're going to proceed on this. But as far as I am concerned, the board, I do know, and I'm speaking for Jerry Sears, talking to Gay, that we go ahead with this construction ASAP. The aspect, and I will comment, the aspect of those in other districts that are not involved, I think that is very questionable. But the fact of the matter is, this has been going on for 2006. It is time that we complete this, and so that there is water at all times.
Yeah. And I'm also in agreement with keeping our reserve fund, being that we had what, 4 leaks this summer?
That's correct.
In the system. I would also like to see that we maintain the existing tank for as long as possible.
I don't think that's any question. I think that, of course, that should remain.
Yeah, but that's not stated anywhere, Peter.
Well, if you look at what
It's in Sheila's report, eh?
in the report at the end, it does show both tanks there.
Okay,
so there's
perfect.
no question that they have done their job.
Sorry, I'm getting feedback on my system here. Somebody else is coming in every once in a while.
I can add new reservoir tank in addition to the existing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. Thank you.
Patrick, did you want me to do that?
I'm just going to tell you, it's for an equipment financing loan.
Equipment financing loan.
Yeah.
So is it approved, or do we? What do we do?
You're gonna move it and second it, and the two of you are gonna toss that around a bit, and then you're gonna vote.
And then we're leaving town.
I don't think we have any option. I think we.
Do you want to move it then, Gabe?
I move.
I second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Peter
Okay.
seconded. Yeah, we're
And
good.
then all in favor?
I'm definitely in favor of this, yes.
Yay,
This has
carried
been 15
unanimously. It looks like Jerry's not here, so
I saw him wandering around.
Yeah.
He's got cute shorts on.
I'm not sure where Jerry is. He may be talking to his wife. That may be the problem.
Yeah.
Is he at home? That's,
Yes, he is at home and he was there, but I don't
is
know.
April at home?
Yes, April is in the hospital.
Oh, she's not home? Yeah.
No, she's not at home. And that is why Jerry may be talking to her at the present time, which of course is number one.
so the agenda, there's allowed for new business if there's anything else members want to discuss, but I think you're ready to close it.
I won't watch the
Acting
tennis.
chair. Can you believe it?
Wonderful, wonderful. Congratulations. It's
Well
done.
done.
Fine.
Peter, we'll have a cocktail when I come over next week.
You're welcome at any time. I'm going to have a drink very soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch the tennis.
Good idea. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you,
Actually,
everyone.
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah.